Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to do a walk around of the Fastback I have installed on my MX5. I'll show you some of the up close details that you may not necessarily see from photos on the internet or hear about. So if you've been considering buying a Fastback, hopefully this helps you with your purchase decision. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So guys, to start the walk around, I want to go through a few of the design points that this Fastback was designed with when it was made by the person that actually built it. So one of the design aspects was the fact that it was made to fit a hardtop compatible roll bar, which is an awesome idea in my opinion, just because you can fit just a generic size roll bar in it and it doesn't limit your roll bar selection. Another one of the key aspects I really liked about this Fastback was it does use the Oem mounting points for the front here. So I could just use an Oem latch here, but I have got the supplied lightweight version that more permanently mounted in the car. But as you can see, they did mount it to the Oem profile. Another aspect I really liked about this Fastback, they did make it so that it did bolt into where the Oem hardtops bolt to. So pretty much you just take out the bolt that is usually in here and replace it with this bolt. I've just put a couple of rubber mounts there just so it has a bit of give and it's not directly just sitting on the little chrome plate that's usually in there. So with those design aspects out of the way, I want to talk about some of the aspects of this Fastback that I don't really like. Some of them are a little bit easier than others to improve, but now I've got this car back for the long haul, they are things that I would look to improve over time. One of the aspects I don't really like about this Fastback is there is no provision for a rear brake light in the Fastback. So what I've actually had to do is mount a LED strip on the rear roll bar, so I do retain a third brake light. Another aspect I don't really like about this Fastback is there is no provision for the side mount latches. I think this was fixed in later models of this Fastback, however it was just an aluminium bracket bent to meet where the windowsill is. I didn't really like this because it didn't incorporate the Oem side mount like it did with the front ones up the top there. I think a bit of time could have gone into making the side mounts a bit more rigid, which would help with the rigidity of the Fastback itself, which is very thin carbon fiber. The final item I guess I don't really like about this Fastback is the general fit and finish of it. The Fastback's not very watertight. It has a lot of air noise as well. The Fastback's not really designed to be an OEM like fit and finish product. I'm gonna go around and show you some of the gaps that I'm talking about. So you'll see on this side of the vehicle, the fit is actually pretty good. It's very close and it's, you know, OEM like. But see on this side, this sits quite a bit higher and the gap is quite big. The boot's also not waterproof, so every time I wash the car, I do have to go through and dry the interior of it. This inconsistent gap exists around here as well. One of the other really big gaps is the gap here where water and air noise gets into the car. The actual seal is one that I've put in myself and it does keep it quite watertight around here, but on the corners of the windows, water does quite drastically come through. Another gap that I'm not necessarily a fan of is up here. It sits a bit higher than the OEM roof does. It's a bit hard to see on the camera, I think, just because of the way the sun is at the moment. But you can definitely, I've put a seal in here to help it be a bit more watertight, but you can still hear quite a bit of air come through here. When I bought the Fastback, I actually tried to put the windows in without the bolts for a more OEM style look. So I got a professional windscreen person out who does it for a living to come out and install it. However, I noticed after a couple of weeks, the windows were actually lifting from the glue that he had put on. I ended up giving him a call just to see what his thoughts were on it. And he said because the roof flexed and it wasn't a stiff item like a normal windscreen usually is, this would cause the glue, which dries hard, to lose its tack. So what I ended up having to do was put bolts all around the window and then seal the edges with a Sikaflex, a flexible Sikaflex, so that it actually sealed water out from coming in the windows, because the water, even without that Sikaflex, the water would still come through just with the bolts in there. I feel like the bolts are a subjective look. Personally, I think I prefer like the OEM clean, flush look. The bolts have grown on me since, and I do quite like it. But if there was an option to go to a boltless style window, I would do it in a heartbeat. One of the things that I want to show you that I actually modified on this to make work is the whole boot setup. So the way the Fastback is sold is the boot doesn't actually have anything to mount it onto the car. I had to drill the provisions to put the OEM latch on the boot so that it would latch down. But because the Fastback sits higher, I couldn't use the OEM hinge anymore, which made me have to make my own hinge. A lot of the guys that use these roofs on race cars just take off their boot every time they want to open it. But because this was a street car, I didn't want to do that. So I'll show you what I did. So when you open it, the boot slides out on a couple of draw rails with some brackets I've made. I also, as you can see, had to modify the Fastback and cut out a section here and have someone fiberglass it flush so that it would fit on the OEM latch still, which now just helps lift the boot up while the draw rail does the actual sliding out. I also had to put in some LED number plate lights as per legality, and that's where I bolted the OEM latch to, just so it fit in the OEM latch hole. This wiring here is for the LED number plate lights, and I actually had to tap into the wiring for the third brake light, which usually comes into the boot because the OEM brake light is up here from factory. I had to move that wiring and pull that wiring in through the cabin so I could get access to it for the third brake light, which I put onto the back of the roll bar. I haven't really had the opportunity yet to get up close with other Fastbacks and see how other people have overcome the challenges that I had to work around with this Fastback. I am keen in time to fix some of the issues that I have come across with this, sort of making it more OEM compliant as an end product. Let me know in the comments below if you have your own experience with any other brands of Fastbacks. I'm actually thinking in the future I might upgrade it to a different brand, just because I guess this Fastback was designed as a bit more of a race top than an OEM compliant street use Fastback. I know with some of the modifications that I plan to make it a bit more street usable might add a bit of weight. This is a sacrifice I reckon I'm willing to make for the OEM feel of a good Fastback, and I'll see you guys in the next video.